we are on to the Business Doctor podcast channel, where we bring on highly successful medical practitioners who have been able to blend the medical craft with entrepreneurship and business. And today we have someone, there's no other person who is in the best position to grace our first episode other than the Olori, Dr. Sonny.
Delighted to be here.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, I know very well that recently you celebrated your 80th birthday, and I was one of the very few young people to be privileged to be invited. It appears it was a low-key event for your standard, because we all know that you're someone well-known all over. We also know that the likes of Saul who were there, eminent Nigerian billionaire and entrepreneur. We also know that the likes of Justice Vival was also present. So can you tell us, how does it feel to cross that landmark page?
Well, thank you very much. The celebration you're talking about was really for family.
Okay.
And your family.
Yeah.
And that's why it was small.
Yeah.
It was only a prelude to the big one.
Okay.
Which came with the installation, my installation as a Oja.
Wow.
And I didn't think we should have two big parties. And the economy doesn't even allow it.
Okay.
So that was that, and then the 80th birthday was merged with the celebration for the installation of your Oja.
Oh, really? I don't think the economy gets to people like you.
Of course, it gets to us very much. The saying is that the bigger your head, the bigger your headache.
Okay, talking about the coronation, that's the Ogbeni Oja celebration, which we recently conferred with, as the new Ogbeni Oja of the Ijebu land. Can you tell us a little bit more about about this new title? Because from my own position, Ogbeni Oja, as a Nigerian, as a Yoruba man, Ogbeni means gentleman. Oja can be said to be the market or the business. So more something like the gentleman of business. So really, am I right in a way? I feel it's someone that has been successful in business that is being given such high titles, being the highest title in the whole of Ijebu.
Okay, I think this is where Yoruba language is very rich, and the Oja and your Ogbeni are the interpretation is totally different.
Okay.
Yeah, the Oja in Ogbeni Oja is actually refers to the palace, and the biggest markets in Yoruba land in the old times are situated very close to the palace.
Okay.
So the Oba is known as the Oloja. He owns the market. That's the biggest economic thing in the place. So the Oja in Ogbeni Oja really denotes the palace. And Ogbeni here, it does not denote gentleman. Well, of course, all the Jebus are gentlemen. It denotes the head of the palace. It's more like prime minister or chief of staff to the king, So that title is not for the weak-hearted.
How relevant is this title to you, knowing well that you've been Olorogun, you've been Balogun, and now you're Ogbeni Oja?
Yeah.
Coming at this time.
Yes, the Kuku family had been Balogun, and the Kuku family has now been given the hereditary title of Olori Ogun, which is the Olorogun, and that was a bit of a problem, because you're holding a top military title, and now this is the topmost civilian title. Combining it, how would there be a conflict? I mean, the field marshal at the same time be prime minister. but it's not difficult, you know. I mean, you can take our past military generals who have also become president. It didn't affect much of it, and the traditions can always, in Jebu, it's very clear the function of everyone, so it's not clear, so difficult. So really, the Ogbeni Oja is primus inter pares in the palace amongst the chiefs.
Among the chiefs.
Yeah, and is the person closest to the Awujale, and he performs functions assigned to him by the Awujale, and these things are a little more liberal. In the past, you only see Awujale once or twice a year, so most of our things are done by errands, by the errands. So that really, so with that, a lot of responsibility devolves on whoever is Ogbeni Oja. Now, who qualifies to be? I think why it has been thought that the people who have it will be very wealthy and will also have a lot of industrial and commercial background, because the last two people who have done it, the penultimate person was Chief Odutola, who was one of the most distinguished Ijebu men ever.
And businessman in Nigeria.
Yeah. And therefore, in Nigeria, he was in the top bracket. In fact, he became president of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And you know the stock exchange is the alternative market. That is a private fund compared with the public fund of the government. So he was very successful, and he really carried the title to another level. And he was succeeded by my uncle, who also was a very, very successful legal practitioner and also businessman. So the name fits them in terms of the owner of the market. But the truth of the matter is that you need a lot more than that. If you look at these same people we're talking about, they were successful in many other aspects of their life. Yeah, and I think this time around, the KBC decided that look, it wasn't all-rounder.
So now we talk about the Kuku family. We all know the Kuku family is a renowned family in Ijebu. So now tell me, what was your growing up days like? You growing up as a young man, you eventually become a doctor. What was your growing up days like? What was your motivation?
Okay, growing up, it was very interesting because I came from this very aristocratic bourgeois family, very well known, and one would expect that you have a silver spoon, which wasn't true. In fact, even all over the world, you have aristocrats who are not rich, but they still belong to the upper class because of their birth. So from day one, the family had known that I came from a bourgeois family, and we had certain principles and standards already set for us, and so we knew where we were coming from. So we were virtually not allowed to misbehave in any form. But that was that. Then my father started life as a pharmaceutical assistant, and I think he saw the doctors around him, mostly white, and he was thrilled. And as far as he was concerned, his son must be a doctor. So from that point on, from when I was very, very, very young, 2-3 years, since I can remember, he has always called me doctor. And because of that, I never thought of any other profession. Never. In fact, I'm very worried that if all those bags I put in one eggs I put in one bag all crashed at the same time, I don't know what I'll be doing these days. So I knew exactly how long it would take me to qualify as a doctor from the age of 4, and what steps I needed to take. So all my life, my ambition was going towards being a doctor.
Wow.
So, so you can imagine I was really a mono specialty person. I mean, from the start,
From the beginning.
from the beginning. So that was how it was. So growing up, I actually grew up in a middle class life. You know, I never really knew how people who were really poor lived. I lived in a house where we had electricity, we had water, be it in Lagos or in Jos or in Ibadan. You know, so I grew up that way. But I also knew how the poorer people live, because you are not too far from the poor, because everybody around you was poor. So we then I went to several, because my father was in Jos and my mother was in Lagos. I went through different schools, elementary schools, and those schools actually helped to form me. Because just Salvation Army School, so I actually saw it all. And each of them, one thing that came out of them was that it's not the quality of the building or the quality of the name that mattered. It was the teachers. The teachers that mattered the most, and the discipline they instilled on the students. Yeah. And it also did something for me. It made me realize that religion, it should not be like we take it. You know, that all religions are the same. They worship God, but through different channels. And all this killing each other for it did not matter. So apart from all those schools, the Christian schools I was mentioning, I was also exposed to Islam, because my ancestor actually popularized Islam in Ijebuland. You know, and in fact, that is the basis today of the Ojudioba.
Wow.
Because he got converted to Islam, and then on the 3rd day of the Ileya festival, he went to pay homage, and that was how the Ojudioba festival started. And that was one of the most important contributions that my ancestor gave to Ijebuland. In fact, the religion, the Islamic religion in Ijebu at that time was called Kuku. That is Kuku's religion. And I don't say it's a joke, but the saying was that people did not speak Arabic. So when they were praying, they would say, Kuku nikin kirum or kirum, Allah Akbar. You get me? That was how they could pray. Until they then learn Arabic. So I was exposed to that. And then I must say, and I don't have any qualms about saying this thing, because my father was also exposed to the native religions. Because I remember he was a member of Ogboni, and he used to go to a lady and all that. And as his first son, he used to take me. And one thing I can say is that the secret was that there was really no fetishness, nothing. It was just like a club, like a gentleman's club, where they ate, said some incantations. Although there was an inner circle that you can't go get to, but there was nothing. No, there was nothing really. They just worship God in their own way. So because of that, because of this exposure, then I was also exposed to the various parts of Nigeria. And in Lagos and Ibadan, Yoruba, in the north, Igbo and Hausa.
Wow.
So I could speak Igbo and Hausa, but I lost it when I moved from Jos to Ibadan.
That experience must have been great for you.
Oh, fantastic.
Now, talking about your educational background, I'm aware you went to King's College at some point, University of Lagos at some point.
Yeah.
And I remember during your 80th birthday, a good number of your colleagues, kept saying that. I really want to know the truthfulness of that. I remember they said that you came out as the best graduating students in most of the institutions you went to, be it King's College, be it University of Lagos, and some even say you're a doctor with 20 degrees. I really want to know about that because that will be out of this world. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, let me say that modesty prevents me from saying I agree with most of what they've said, but that's a cliche. I think somehow God gave me, blessed me, and one thing I saw was that as I grew older, from very young, I just got better and better. And in the elementary school, of course, I must have been one of the topmost people, because to pass into King's School at that time, you really have to be the top of the top of the top of the top.
One of the best.
Yeah. And then I also passed within the first three. I was 1 to 3, which meant I was given a full scholarship.
Wow.
That means I must have passed it with the best result. Okay. So you can imagine thousands of people there, and then 3 of you are given full scholarship. And 7 are given part-time part scholarship. When I then left King's College to go into University of Lagos, I then found also that I had the best, within the first 2 or 3 best A-level results to the university. And when I was leaving university at the final exams, I collected most of the prizes.
Most of the prizes?
Yeah. If there were 14 prizes, I got 12.
Wow. Yeah. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Out of 14, you had 12 out of
12, yeah.
Awards.
So when I went into for postgraduate, I was able to do something that was very unusual. That is, I was able to do a PhD at the same time as the membership.
Wow.
Each of them is a full-time job, full-time thing. But I was able to do that in the Royal Postgraduate Medical College. So, but I found that I was challenged. The challenges of education were not enough for me. Of being a doctor was not enough. I didn't realize at the beginning. I just thought those things were not enough to care. But when I got into medical school, I remember a professor of biochemistry called me aside and said, medicine is not enough for you. That you can't, from what I can see, it doesn't occupy you enough.
You need something higher.
You have to have something with you, because, and he then tried to induce me to go into biochemistry, and into research. Even when I was in King's College, the principal used to call me to the head office, to his office, to say, look, what is all this starting a band and all this, but go and study. What are you? And then at the end of the term, I would have done very well. And he would say, so he used to really warn students against me, that they should not really they should not try to emulate me in that way. So I think that eventually converted me, but when I finished medicine, I found that practicing medicine or even academic medicine wasn't occupying me enough, which was why I had plenty of what people thought I had plenty of time for plenty of other things, like jack of all trades.
So was this the genesis of you moving into other spaces?
Yes.
Like the corporate business in Nigeria today?
Yeah. the corporate business I got into by I won't say accident, by association. You see, because when we started the core hospital, by the way, let me tell you a joke I always tell. That as an Ijebu man, once you are born, you have BSc economics and accountancy and finance. So I was really bored with that. Innate. That was congenital and genetic.
In medical,
you know. So I am. So when we started Eco Hospital, it was clear that we had very little management background. Very, very little.
No, sorry,
we'll get to that.
We know that's a problem in the healthcare space. Most doctors are not trained to be very good managers, and it's one of the reasons why I personally started what I'm doing, as the business doctor, to see how we can have more younger generations blend management expertise, leadership expertise with their medical craft. And it's a good thing that you mentioned that now, that those management skills were lacking when you started the Eco Hospital. So let's really know, I want to know, how were you able to blend management and leadership expertise with your medical craft? What does it take for younger generations to imbibe these skills towards being successful in everything they do?
You see, once when we had the idea what we wanted to do, it was clear that we didn't have the funds even to set up clinics. So we had to borrow. And then to borrow, you have to have certain documents, certain things. You need to fulfill certain conditions.
Your accounting papers,
everything, which we did not even know how to go about. So we got people to do it, and while they were doing it, I was understanding them. I just was naturally with them. Then I found that, so that's how you keep the books. This is how you put expenditure against income. This is how to separate capital from concurrent, and so on. And then you need to have a structure from clerk and messenger to the manager. And then, since we were very busy people, we then need to create a structure, a management structure, where you have a general manager or administrative. When we were small, call them administrative managers and so on, until we got to CEO later. So all those things need to be done, and all that we had to learn from the University of the World, not from the University of Medicine. So with that, somehow I just naturally blended it. I found that it was not as difficult as it was, but that it was very necessary to do. So when the practice went on, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we got to a point where we really needed to expand and build a new place, and the banks would not even touch us. They won't even come near us, because our headquarters in Ikeja, it was going to cost 15 million to build, brick and mortar
at that time,
and 15 million naira to equip. We were prepared to find the 15 million.
That was over 20, 30 years ago.
1990. That was finished in 1990. We're talking about 30, more than 30 something years. This is 2024. You're talking about 30 years, at least 30 years, because all this started around 80 something, 90 something. So, but there was no way we could find 15 million to build it, not from out of pocket. So we then needed to borrow. So we went to the banks, and the bank said no. That how much is one injection that you give? Do you get me? How many injections would you have to give to make 15 million? They broke it down as simple as that, so simple, and they just felt it was not possible, and we were really in a limbo, So, but fortunately, by stroke of accident, I met one apostle, Alili, who was the DG of the stock exchange at that time, and he said, "I hear people are looking for money. What are you looking for money?" I told him. He said, "Fine, then go public, go to the public space." That is a totally different dimension.
So that's what gave rise to the first publicly quoted hospital group.
Yeah.
On the Nigerian
yeah. So that was that. That was how I got to be. But to be able to now get to that level, you have to have an expertise.
In corporate governance
and
many other things.
So many. You need to know how the capital market works.
Now, that takes us to the boardroom.
Yeah.
Because at that level also, your skill in handling the boardroom matter needs to be top-notch. And I feel these are also spaces where healthcare practitioners need to also be able to develop their skills in. So I know that you've been chairman of many boards. I know many of the governing councils of universities in Nigeria. I don't know how many numbers, but at some time, University College Hospital, UCH, Obafemi Awolowo University, University of Nobanjo, and I think currently University of Benin.
Yeah. I don't know where we call it current. I'm the immediate past pro-chancellor.
Wow.
Yeah,
so you've been on several boards.
Yes.
And also beyond that, you've been the chairman of a bank in Nigeria. I doubt if there's been any medical doctor who's been able to get in that position.
No, there have been medical people who have become chairman. It's just that they left medicine.
Okay.
And went into banking.
Yeah. But someone that's been able to stay in its craft and also
be able to do that.
Blend the two together.
And then somebody at the top most point of medicine, specializing.
Yeah.
Somebody who is really in the final details of medicine.
You've made you are the life president of your field as endocrinology.
Yes, and then also the life patron of Diabetes Society of Nigeria.
Fantastic.
So somebody who is practicing at that level of skill, then vying into banking and finance, and then becoming chairman. That's the difference.
What does it take to balance the intricacies of the boardroom so that other healthcare practitioners can learn from you?
Yeah.
What does it take to be able to balance this out and succeed?
The thing is that the boardroom is the boardroom. The whole purpose of a board is not to have people with such expertise as to be able to even run the company. If allowed to be, is the disadvantage, because that is not the purpose.
Job of the board.
No, the job of the board is to put policies and supervise and ensure that there is good governance, financial probity, that the board, the people who are there, you employ the right type of people, and you watch the growth and development. So, in fact, the people who are there should really be what we call intelligent amateurs. It's the best, if I don't have the best people, because somebody comes now and says, Nigeria wants to buy Ghana. Nigeria government. Yeah. I'm just take scenario like that. The board will say, come, excuse me, are you all right? Give us a paper. Then they give you a paper, and then you look at it and say, this makes sense. But because of that expertise that you developed in other areas, you're able to guide the board, the company, to say, yes, no. The only thing you can't really do with them is you cannot dabble into the technical part of what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance now, take things like in banking, like hedge funds. That's very technical. No chairman, except himself is a banker, will go into that. So the purpose of once you're a leader and you know how to handle matters.
So many people have considered you the greatest of all time in the medical practice. Just as I've said, you've been able to blend and be successful both in your medical craft and also gotten the peak in things outside your medical space. So how do you feel about this?
It's only God that knows who is the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And God is the only person who is the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I think I leave that to my parents to decide.
Okay.
And believe me, I'm sure there are people who have achieved a lot. They may not be as visible as me,
Yeah.
but there are lots of people who have achieved a lot. And it's enough for me to know that I'm making an impact.
Yeah.
A positive impact.
Yeah.
That is always that is important to me. And it's when you start getting into this type of competition that you start doing things that you shouldn't do. So just as far as I'm concerned, I just go on naturally. Just keep going naturally. And then it's up to my parents and to people to decide where they rate me. But whatever they rate me, I'm content. I feel fulfilled and content. But you never can sit on your own because you will start depreciating.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'll continue to do my best in every field.
Thank you for that. It's good to know that people feel very highly of you in terms of, and they feel that you made so much impact in people's lives, and I think that's just what is very much important. Yeah, thank you for that. And it's important for other people to also know, people that are coming behind you, to know that they need to also strive for excellence continually, both in the medical field and areas outside of medicine. The way you've been able to balance this, the way you've been able to blend this and become successful. Thank you very much. At the same time, we're getting close to rounding up. Can you advise us, the young generations, the way we've been having a lot of people moving out of the country right now in droves, what's your take on this? They're trying to chase greener pastures outside the country. What's your take on this?
I think we'll be back. I think we'll be back. We've witnessed this several times. Because at the time when I moved from tertiary public system to private system, a lot of people moved to Saudi Arabia, to America, to anywhere. Most of them have come back. There are two things that make them come back because there is no place like home.
One.
But more importantly, there will be improvement. The government has to, it's something has to do. Nigeria cannot keep going
like this.
And what is going on is job satisfaction. Not only the salary, but job satisfaction. Because if you look at it, the health system is very poorly funded.
Yeah.
And it's not the government, it's because of the policy of the government. How is the health system funded outside our shores? It's by third-party payment, by insurance. So if we have a hospital that is assured that it gets paid for every person who comes, no matter how little, he can then pay the doctor better, he can buy equipment better, he can do everything better. Then the patient does not get bankrupted because he's put his money into a coup. That is the way it's run in most parts of the developed world. In a place like England, it's a little different. As you pay your tax, a certain percentage of it goes to health. It isn't that the government will not release it. The government has to release it because it's automatically taken. It's not that they do a budget and they say you have 15% from health and only 5% comes to you. No. That's another system. And I think that may be the system that we need to innovate to. Where by constitution, by law, the percentage of the money goes to health. But more important is the ability of the people to pay and the ability of people to get money to run the system. The answer to our problem is insurance.
Wow.
And obviously, organized sector affairs. The non-organized sector, you have to use other mechanisms. You can get together with cooperative, the churches, the community system, where you come. And then there will be that percentage, who cannot pay. The government will not pay.
Fantastic.
So, you then have a pool of money. Every year, the 200 million Nigerians pay 25,000 naira. That money is now in a pool. And like you know very well, money. Not more than 20% of people who pay for insurance.
Yeah.
Will benefit.
Use them.
So, it becomes a broader speaker. So, if you have the most difficult problem, medical problem, somebody will pay for it. So, that is the answer. Once that is done, the hospitals become better equipped. The doctor will get better paid. The patient will stay around.
Get better care.
That is the crux of it.
That's for everyone. We hope the government is listening. And now I really want to thank you for this. I really want to thank you for your time. It's not been so easy getting you to sit down, especially knowing well that, you shuttle between too many places. So I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Olorogun. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I hope we can take one or two things from our meeting with Olorogun today. Cheers.